During last night's Democratic town hall on Fox News, Bernie Sanders was asked about the auto bailout. Now, of course, in the previous debate, Hillary Clinton brought up his supposed opposition to the auto bailout. Hey, you voted against it. How come you voted against all these workers? How come you voted against the auto industry? You would have killed millions and millions of jobs, right? And she hit him over the head with that vote, right? Now, on the Fox News town hall, host Bret Baier actually addressed that and asked Bernie about this. And let's listen to that in his response.
Senator, you also seemed in the debate taken aback a bit by Secretary Clinton's attack on the auto bailout loan. There was fact checks done on this today, and they sided with you on those votes. Is this part of the problem running for president from the U.S. Senate, trying to explain cloture votes and complex...
That's a very good point, Brent. You know, as you know, votes are complicated, and sometimes within large pieces of legislation are good things, bad things. In this case, there was one vote to support the automotive industry. And I believe, of course I knew at the time, that if that industry went down, millions of jobs, not only in Michigan and Ohio, but all over this country would be impacted. Of course I voted in the one Senate vote that I had the opportunity to vote to support the automobile industry. What I did not vote for was the bailout of Wall Street. And that is essentially what Senator Clinton was talking about. She did vote for that. What I proposed, and I lost by what they call a voice vote, is to ask the wealthiest people in this country to pay a surtax. They were the people, by and large, who benefited from the illegal behavior of Wall Street. And I thought that rather than have the middle class and working families of this country bail out Wall Street, I wanted the 1% to bail out Wall Street.
He's right. I mean, it turns out that legislation is pretty complicated. Yes, Sanders did support the auto bailout, but in order to get that, he would have actually had to support bailing out Wall Street, which, of course, he was against. And see, this is how corporations work. This is how they get bailouts and handouts. They tie in legislation that would actually help them, right? And they tie it into legislation that would save jobs. For example, the bailout is a big example of this. They essentially used legislative tricks to get their cake and eat it too. And for Sanders, unfortunately, this was like a no-win proposition. He votes against this. And Hillary Clinton attacks him for not supporting workers. Oh, why didn't you support your workers? Why didn't you support unions? And look, that's essentially false. Because when you actually look at the legislation in context and look at what was in the bill, one part of the bill would be to bail out the auto industry. It was tied into a bailout of Wall Street. One thing he was in favor of, the other thing he was opposed. He votes for it, and Clinton attacks him for being a hypocrite and supporting Wall Street despite his rhetoric. It's a no-win situation. It's a no-win situation. And actually, even though Hillary Clinton was hitting him on the, oh, well, you know, I don't support Wall Street, and you didn't support the workers. So what does that say about you? Well, there's actually a couple of Democratic senators, and this comes from David Sirota over at the International Business Times. So several key Democrats said, no, Hillary Clinton didn't vote for that bill to save the workers. No. She was voting for it in order to help Wall Street. Remember, she represented Wall Street when she was a senator, and she had gotten a lot of money from the financial industry. You can look it up. It's easy to find. Open secrets. You can find how much money she's gotten from the banks. The banks have bankrolled her, literally, in her Senate campaign, and have given her a lot of money for her presidential campaign. Now, I really actually have to give some credit, and I hate doing this, but I got to give credit to Fox News and Bret Baier for actually asking a good substantive question and allowing Sanders to actually answer it. I hate to say it, but Fox News has actually ran a better town hall than CNN or MSNBC. Remember, with CNN, you had Chris Cuomo framing taxes, raising taxes on the very, very wealthy, the 0.1%. Raising that, he framed it as punishment. Why are you punishing us rich people? Why you got to punish us with raising taxes in order to do essential things like actually give people health care. There's your framing. Now you also had, and this was just awful when people let me know about it, right? And I watched the debate. I saw this. Here's some water. Don't worry, it's free. I know it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's just that snide condescension of senators saying, here's some water. Don't worry, you socialist. It's free. We know how much you like free stuff. So here's some free water. It's just condescending, man. And even before that, you had Anderson Cooper essentially red baiting him. So you're a socialist. Explain how much of a socialist you are. Just on and on and on. The media bias, and to Fox's credit, at least with a debate or a town hall like this, they were actually pretty fair. And I hate to say it, man, but they were actually acting like journalists. Now, I know Fox News is not a journalistic outlet. I know they don't like Senator Sanders, but in this case, I mean, whenever the election comes around, election season, you actually have Fox News being somewhat more journalistic than CNN or MSNBC. It's an amazing sight to behold. And I know that they do that for a reason. So that they can appear more credible, they can suck some people in. And that's why MSNBC and CNN are absolute jokes, because they're not even hiding their agenda now. They're so incredibly pro-Clinton, they're pro-corporate media because they are corporate media. And they know they're going to do very, very well under a Clinton presidency. Not so well if Senator Sanders gets into office. So that's why they do this, man. Now, like I said, Hillary Clinton was not putting Sanders' vote into context. Because most people don't know how involved the legislative process is. And that means she essentially tried to play everybody watching for fools. Because Sanders is very consistent on his stances on the bailouts. And it's a gross political tactic on her part. And I gotta tell you guys, don't be fooled. Look up the facts. There are facts that exist on this. All the fact checkers, they said, no, that's not actually right. He didn't oppose the bailouts of the auto industry. He actually wanted to save jobs. But he didn't want to bail out Wall Street. And for that, you got to give him credit for being consistent and saying we don't want to give taxpayer money to large financial institutions that crashed our economy, even at the cost of GM not getting a whole bunch of taxpayer money. Don't be fooled, man. Mainstream media, corporate media, is not on his side, and it's not on our side. Look up the facts.